And good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever your time may be in your area. And this is a way to welcome you to another edition of the program, The Exchange. The Exchange is a 1 hour, 30-minute program that comes away weekdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. And tonight is another special edition that promises to be fascinating. The Exchange is a platform that brings together people from diverse backgrounds to discuss issues of major concerns, both nationally and globally. The exchange is streamed on three platforms across social media: YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Please join us all as we discuss issues tonight that is cardinal to the growth and development of our country, Mama Liberia. My name is Moses C. Telewayon, and I am so honored tonight to be one of the panelists for such a unique discussion with two diplomats from Liberia. And as a matter of fact, we are so happy to have them here tonight as our guest. Prince Duo,
All right, thank you very much for giving me the enabling environment at least to have a usual interaction with some of our, fathers and mothers from back home, especially those ones that are very, very much, up to the task when it comes to discussing critical national issues that one way or other have the ability to contribute positively towards the growth and substantive development of our country, Mama Liberia. So it's an honor and privilege to serve as a panelist for today's discussion on the Exchange Forum. So thank you very much.
thank you, Prince, and Elijah.
Thank you very much. The name remain. My name is Elijah Dennis, one of the panelists for the exchange. We want to say welcome wheresoever you are. Following the exchange, we want to say thank you to our guests joining us there from the United States of America today to discuss the topic on a discussion analyzing Liberia past, present, and future antecedents. Where are we as a nation? So I want to say once again, I want to say thank you and welcome. My name remains Elijah Dennis.
Okay, thank you very much, Elijah Dennis. And now we will turn over to Prince Duo for a synopsis of the introduction relatively to our guest tonight.
All right, thank you very much again. So the name remains Prince David Wood Jr. And by the virtue of that, I think our guest is not someone who's strange. Precisely our own father, Mr. Nathaniel Bannings, right? He's one of those many faces that have contributed positively towards Liberia growth and progress. He has served, he has served our country time without numbers. He have dedicated and committed his tireless and endless services towards, mitigating diplomatic approaches through which Liberia now is benefiting from those diplomatic effects and all of those things he have done over the period of time. So by the virtue of that, he's going to better introduce himself. He's going to better give us synopsis and a basic overview of a couple of things he have done over the period of time, his contribution towards our country, Mama Liberia, and every other thing going to be done by him. And not forgetting our own mother, Mistress Bonnie herself. She's going to better introduce herself, and we're going to have a very, very fruitful and interactive discussion today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. And this is a way to welcome Mr. and Mrs. Barnes. Welcome to the exchange.
Thank you very, very much. We are both very, very pleased to be here with you.
I am thrilled to be here. I met Prince on Messenger. We've been chatting back and forth, and we look forward to this exchange.
Well, I just like to say and commend you young people for this particular initiative because it's very, very important for you to realize that the future of Liberia is you. And you must embrace and take on these initiatives, no matter how difficult it will be. And you have shown courage and a vision in attacking some of these issues and bringing them forth and discussing them in a like manner. The more you take responsibility of these issues, the better chances you have to control your own destiny. So we'd like to commend you for what you are doing and encourage you to continue to pursue truth, to pursue the facts that we need to drive Liberia to a new trajectory. And we must commend and congratulate all of you for doing this.
Yes, I want to echo exactly what Ambassador Barnes has said. As an educator, as a mother of 6 adult children, and 3 grandchildren, it does my heart good to see young people that have a vision, that have a plan, and that have the courage to act on it and take initiative and do these things. And it is intriguing to me that you are all over the world. And so as an educator, as a mother, as a lover of my homeland, Liberia, it is an extreme pleasure to chat with you about where we have come from, in my perspective, and more importantly, where we are going. So let's talk. Let's talk about where we're going.
Yeah, sure.
Give your
Okay,
background.
thank you very
Okay,
much.
well,
Give your background, I think.
all right. Well, for me, like Moses has said, I have served Liberia most of my adult and professional life. My background is in finance and risk management. I went to college here in the U.S., both at undergraduate and graduate levels. I have an MBA in finance and banking. And I returned to Liberia in 1998, and to serve Liberia after I had worked in the U.S. in corporate America for many years. I started as an analyst at the Ministry of Finance in the minister's office. And thereafter, I served as Director General of NASCORP, the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation. And thereafter was asked to serve as Minister of Finance. One of the most challenging things I've done in my professional career. We have a young woman. I was about to say that about you. I'm glad to see a young woman as a part of it. So great. So I did serve as a Minister of Finance, and then eventually, Mrs. Sirleaf, when she became president, asked me to serve as ambassador to the United Nations, and I did that concurrently, serving as ambassador to Cuba, and then eventually went as ambassador to the United States of America. Since 2010, I was recalled. I've lived in Liberia, lived and worked in Liberia. My wife and I own manage a foundation called the Aurora Foundation of Liberia, where we attempt to create agents of positive change in Liberia. And we've worked largely with young people like yourselves, providing scholarships, providing educational support. We work with agriculture groups. We have an affiliation with a large women's agriculture cooperative in Nimba County. And we try to do things to reach out and serve. We see ourselves as servants. So it's good to be here today. I've always said I will serve Liberia. We will serve Liberia till we die. Okay, yeah. And I expect to be back in Liberia very, very soon. I'm here visiting with my family, my grandchildren, and so I expect to be back in Liberia very soon and sort of jump in the mix of things again. So it's very, very important that to lead you must serve. Okay, we see ourselves as servant leaders.
Well, I'll talk about myself. My background is I'm an artist. I'm a performing artist. I grew up in Liberia. Both of my parents are Liberians. I was fortunate to attend school both in Europe, in Switzerland for a while. So if there's anyone in the Switzerland area that's a part of this, hi, I was once in Geneva. And then I came to the United States where I studied theater and performing arts. I was a professional dancer for a while. And I got my doctorate in film. So, and I've taught in higher education for much of my career. I taught courses such as mass media, introduction to humanities, writing for the fine arts, appreciation of the arts, cultures, and ideas of Africa. Those are some of the themes that I've taught. I'm currently teaching online at the graduate level. I'm teaching a course entitled Social Justice and the Cinema. And one of the areas that we're going to be covering, which is about social justice, is the colonization of Africa and the ramifications of that as recorded in motion picture and films. Most recently in Liberia, I was vice president for academic support services at the African Methodist Episcopal University, where I established a performing arts group. We produced movies. We produced a movie called Mama Liberia, which was really made to emphasize the need to be peaceful as we went into the last elections that we held. And we made like an allegory showing the audience that whenever one of us attacks the other, we destroy Liberia. So whether we are from all our various ethnic groups and regions of the country, we have different religions, we have different social economic backgrounds, but we're all brothers and sisters, and we are all children of Mama Liberia. So if we do not live together as one people, if we do not love one another, and if we do not love our mother, we will always be in strife, and that is not a good thing. So my passion is for the performing arts, particularly the culture, the traditional culture of Africa. I've also made a movie called The Spiritual Nature of Traditional Liberian Dances some years ago, where I went to each ethnic group and attempted to record the dancing that is indigenous to that particular ethnic group. So my background is as an artist, as an academic, and as a lover of people. And a supporter and uplifter of everything that is positive for women. I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. I was a part of reactivating the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority in Liberia. We currently give scholarships. We support a program called Ending Period Poverty. I can tell you more about that if you're interested. I'm also, as my husband mentioned, the co-founder and director of our foundation, Aurora Foundation of Liberia. Amongst other things such as scholarships, agricultural initiatives, we also support the arts and culture of Liberia. So we help to uplift our culture. We want to see a more positive view of Liberia globally. And so that's what I do.
Well,
okay,
okay.
Thank you very much. And that
All
was
right,
a very
so thank you very much.
So one of our panelists just joined
Moses,
us.
you can join in. Moses, you can.
Yes, Noah just joined us. So Noah, we'll give you the time to introduce yourself as Noah, your mic is muted. Please unmute your mic and introduce yourself shortly. Noah. All right. It seems like Noah is facing some technical problems. So, like I said earlier, is really fascinating and intriguing to listen to spending two brilliant individuals that imams who understands the dialectics of how people should be educated and how people should go about uh, to be serving for their countries and providing those necessary things that will help develop our country, Mama Liberia. It's actually a pleasure to sit here tonight with you to drink from your fountain of knowledge as we go through tonight's discourse. So if you are just joining us, this is the exchange, and the exchange is a 1 hour 30-minute program that comes away weekdays, Wednesdays, and Saturday. And tonight our guest is Mr. and Mrs. Barnes, and we are so glad to have them here to discuss with us Liberia past, present, and future antecedent, and where we are as a country since 1847. So to get started the discourse, Mr. and Mrs. Barnes, the topic, can we have an overview of what that is so the public can know exactly what we're talking about?
Absolutely. Liberia has a very, very rich history and past. Very rich, but at the same time quite complex. Okay, we are the only country on a continent that's comprised of a mixture of several cultures, both on the continent of Africa and across the globe. As we all know, the history of Liberia is that Liberia was formally organized from a political perspective and a governance perspective by the coming of free Black people from the United States. And they met with these people that were already there, okay? And so it made for a very, very interesting and rich culture. But there have been some challenges along the way. And, the one thing we should note right up front, there is no country on the face of this earth that has not experienced war, crisis, hunger, poverty. Every country has faced it one way or another. What makes Liberia so unique is that we represent a multicultural, multi-ethnic approach on a continent. You know, every country on the continent of Africa has different ethnic groups, but ours is from across the globe, so to speak, from the United States of America, from the Caribbean, from South America. We all have come together to form what has become Liberia. In my humble opinion, something happened along the way. You know, what generally happens in terms of the evolution of culture within any particular environment, certain behaviors, certain practices, certain norms, certain mores, after they are practiced or exist for a period of time, become an integral part of that culture. And I think what happened to us in the past, the behavior of denial sort of crept into our own perception, our own behaviors, our own practices. And as a result of that, we embrace a certain spirit of denial. So there were certain things happening among us over all of the generations that we chose as a people to run away from. You know, like, you know, when you are confronted in the natural history, when a being is confronted, you take a flight or fight approach. And in some of these controversial issues, instead of standing up and facing the issues and fighting, okay, to address and resolve it, we choose flight. And we sort of swept many of these issues under the carpet through denial. In my humble opinion, what happened when we had the coup d'etat, in Liberia, it was basically an eruption of that suppressed denial over the generations. It erupted, and we found ourselves traumatized. Okay, but we've come to a point in Liberia where there is a certain amount of awareness, especially with you young people, that things have to be different. We need to confront our past, okay, and resolve these issues and differences and embrace those denials, come to face with the stubborn facts, okay, embrace them, address them, and then reconcile and move forward to a better and more prosperous Liberia. There are several instances within our society and our culture right now that has proven to be a great point to move forward. All of the young people in Liberia right now from across Liberia have one thing in common. They have a certain sense of unity because of the struggles of the Civil War. Because of the war that came to Liberia, it caused our young people to come together just for the sake of survival. Yeah, there were young people that were fighting and causing all kinds of atrocities, but at the same time, these young people like you all got together and says, we have to survive. Now that you have survived, you have this wonderful, wonderful opportunity to build a society away from these denials based on truth, facts, reconciliation, and acceptance, and move Liberia to where we want it to be. If there's anything that's come out of our civil crisis, it allowed us a clean slate. Everything is broken. Everything was broken. We now have this wonderful opportunity to take all of the positive energy of all of us, regardless, and move forward to a bigger, brighter, and more prosperous Liberia. So the future is in your hands, okay? Generations like ours, we had our challenges. We had some mistakes. Those before ours made mistakes. But that's what nation building is about, okay? Grappling with the hard realities of existence. So I'm very, very excited and hopeful for the future of Liberia, for your future as young people, okay? We need to take our rich history and build upon it in a very, very positive way.
So I'm going to just pick up where Ambassador Barnes left off, but I'm going to go back and try to really lay it out because I think he's assuming things that maybe some people are not really on board with. They haven't already understood. So I'm just going to go back to what is Liberia? How was Liberia founded? So Liberia was founded, as you all may have read, in 1822. But if you read more recent histories that talk about the place that is now called Liberia, obviously there were groups that were living there long before 1822, when a group of people who had been slaves that were then free with the condition that they leave the United States of America, and they left and found themselves in the country or on the continent of their ancestors. So people immigrated to Liberia from all over. Most notably, the largest one group came from Northern Africa, from the Mali Kingdom, and they settled in what is now Liberia. There were people that came from the central part, from the southern part, and they migrated and they settled. Liberia is a rich area agriculturally. Everything grows there. There's plenty of water. There's plenty of food. So people were attracted, and as deserts formed to the north, and wars and other things pushed people out of where they were coming from on the continent of Africa, they ended up in what is now Liberia. Okay, so here these people are coexisting in that area with their own cultures, their own languages, their own lifestyles. And from across the ocean comes people that were slaves. And when these people come into the situation, they're not coming in and being warmly welcomed because they're seen as intruders. They're coming in to take over. They're coming in with their own cultural mores. At the same time, the people who are coming are saying, you people over here are our family, but you rejected us, you sold us into slavery. So there's conflict. People coming in are feeling that they've been rejected because they were sold as slaves. People receiving are feeling like, where are you coming from? You're not one of us. You don't share our culture anymore. You're not dressed like us. Your names are different. Your language is different. So there's conflict. But yet we also know that there had to be a certain amount of cooperation, because the settlers could not have survived if they had not made friends with some of the local people that taught them strategies to survive. So from a very, very early point, Liberia forged a nation. Also, interestingly, on the continent of Africa, Liberia is, aside from Ethiopia, the only place that was never colonized by one of the European powers. And so Liberia was in the forefront of the anti-colonization movement, the liberation of Africa, the taking back of our destiny into our own hands. And Liberia said, no one is going to come into Liberia and dominate. Anyone that comes here has to show respect for a person of Negro descent, because we as people, Black people, know what it is to have been sold as slaves. And we have come here now to prove that Blacks are just as good as anyone else, that we can build our own nation, that we can have a nation that's comparable to any other nation on the globe. Unfortunately, we have failed many times. We've had some successes, but there have been many lost opportunities. And so I want to caution us that as we move forward, there's an election coming up in next year. There's an opportunity again to reflect and to say to ourselves, this is where we came from. We declared ourselves independent in 1847. And we were the only independent country on the continent of Africa, aside from Ethiopia, for many, many years until the 50s and 60s, when gradually French and British colonies, Belgian colonies started to liberate themselves. So we have a lot to be proud of as original signers of the League of Nations, which became the United Nations. We have a lot to be proud of the struggle we did for the liberation movement. We have a lot to be proud of as the only Black nation that was independent and not colonized on the continent of Africa. So there are many things to be proud of, but there are many opportunities that we've missed.
At the same time, we must understand that the whole idea of nation building, in many, many instances, does encounter or comprise conflict. those countries that have been able to engage the conflict, take it apart, examine it, and learn from it are those that have been successful. Okay, this particular opportunity with you young people is you now have the opportunity to look at those conflicts, look at our past in a very, very candid and hard way, and say, okay, these are the things we did. We need to stop doing that, pointing fingers, and begin to point fingers to ourselves, so to speak, and then do some national introspection. Okay, that will yield a certain amount of reconciliation, acceptance, national identity, and self-love.
Self-love is important.
It's absolutely critical that we do that. When you are running a race, okay, and you're looking ahead, but every so often you turn around and to see what's behind you, there's a danger. That doesn't mean you shouldn't reflect every so often, but if you do it more often than you should, there's a danger that you might fall into a pit ahead or you might run into a wall. So we have to address our past in a fair, equitable way, okay, more or less accepting the facts of the past, embracing them,
the mistakes that were made,
and learning from them.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But I'm hopeful about our future, of Liberia's future, as to where we are going. And I'd like to just introduce a concept that we've created called the 3 Cardinal Questions. As we look at ourselves as a people, as a nation, okay, as a group, we need to always address 3 cardinal questions. Question number 1, what do we want? If we don't know what we want as a people, we will not get it. We will not accomplish it. What do we want? Cardinal question number 2, what must we do to get what we want? What must we do to get what we want? And cardinal question number 3, are we willing and prepared to do what we must do to get what we want? That is our challenge to you young people out there, you young Liberia's future. The 3 cardinal questions. Address them, look at them from an individual perspective and a national perspective. As a people, as a nation, address the 3 cardinal questions, and trust me, the sky will be our limit.
All right, so thank you very much. And to all of our listeners out there, if you just joined us, this is our regular exchange forum where we have issues of national concern and global concern are up for discussions. So in studio today, we have Ambassador Nathaniel Bannis and Dr. Nathaniel Bannis. They are here discussing the topic Liberia past, present, and future antecedent. Since 1847 up to date, where are we as a country? So, by the virtue of fact, if you just join us, keep posted, keep following as we discuss, and basically, we're gonna give you an insight of Liberia's foundation, Liberia progress, Liberia failures, and where we are as a people, and how each of us as a nation builder can contribute positively. So, thank you very much for listening to the splendid and explicit presentation from Mr. and Mistress Bonnie. But before going further, our own sister Noor, she just joined us. So Noor, we will shortly take a brief introduction from you, and after that, we're going to get the ball rolling. So kind of introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you, Prince. And firstly, I want to apologize to the public for coming late. I was actually into a mini meeting and it actually flipped into this one. My name is Noah David, and I'm one of the panelists for the Exchange Forum. This forum actually is meant to educate and to inform our people back home about things that we need to do and what are things we need to put in place in order for Mama Liberia to move forward. So I firstly want to say thank you to our guests for accepting our invites, and all our questions will further as we are going through. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
All right, so thank you very much, Noor. Thank you for that brief introduction. So back to our discussion, basically we are analyzing Liberia past, present, and future antecedent since 1847 up to date. But one of the questions that kept running in my mind has to do with, by the virtue of fact we are all Liberians, and the old people normally say this, you have to sit on the old mat in order to apply the new mat. So you people, as our older ones, as our older folks, we always need to get guidance and mentorship from you people. So what are those basic and major challenges that over the period of time since 1847 up to current day 2022 Liberia have been confronted with, and what are those recommendations, right? Based on your own experience working in the diplomatic sector, interacting with a lot of Liberians, staying in the diaspora, what are those things that you think have served as a major challenge or challenges, and how we can mitigate it as young people of this 21st century?
That's an excellent question, Prince. I think there are several factors that must be considered that could be quote unquote kernels of wisdom from our generation and the generation before us. I think one thing that's very, very important and where we stumbled historically is the issue of tolerance. We have not, it's one of those issues where we've again swept under the rug and denied. Okay. The issue of embracing everyone as equal, as as valuable in terms of our national destiny, and as an important part of the language of moving forward, of the language of nationalism. We have not exercised being very tolerant as a people. We need to engage that, okay? And sometimes the reason for that intolerance can be traced back to just some basic humanity fallacies of humanity, so to speak. Sometimes it may be based on cultural, ethnic, or tribal differences, the issue of principles. But we must understand that if we are to go forward as a nation, we have to engage and practice tolerance for everyone. That is important because for a nation to be successful, it requires broad, especially in a democracy, it requires broad participation. So everyone, regardless of their ethnicity, their gender, their social standing, regardless, have to feel that they are an active participant in their personal and national destiny. So those are some of the qualities that we have to incorporate, okay, where people feel that they are a part. We need to create an environment where our leaders, okay, that we elect as our employees, okay, they are not our rulers, they are leaders, okay, and for that to happen, there must be full participation, full and equal participation of every citizen, and an extreme measure of tolerance, love, and embrace for all of us as a nation.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about, Nat, is valid. It's very true even today. There are so many inequities in our society. I mean, the word tolerance is not one of my favorite ones because it implies that we merely get along. And I think we need to do better. I like the word you used later on when you said love. We really need to love each other. The best way to forge ahead is to recognize and to love one another. Now, we know that doesn't always work, but we have to at least agree that in terms of the leadership has to view every Liberian as an equal shareholder, exactly as you were explaining. So the leadership needs to give full participation to women, to people of various ethnic groups, to people of different religions, to the young, to the elderly, to the disabled, to everyone. There needs to be equity within the society, not just to be equal, because everyone will not get the same thing, but everyone must get what he or she needs. To a large extent, our girls have been left out. Our girls need to be encouraged. Our girls need to be brought to the forefront. So some investment needs to be made for our girls. The youth of certain regions of the country have been deprived. There are more schools, for example, in the urban areas than there are in the rural areas. We need to empower people, whether they live in the rural areas or the urban areas. We need to empower people no matter their ethnicity. We need to empower, everyone needs to have access to excellent health care and excellent education. Everyone needs to have the feeling that they can succeed. More and more, those of us that have spent a lot of time in the West are realizing that this is no paradise. America is a country fraught with racism, with violence, hatred. And many people, many Liberians, some of you included, may feel this way. While America has afforded us many opportunities in terms of education and work experience, we long to go back to our homes because we long to feel at peace. We long to feel loved and valued for who we are. We do not want to feel as if because of the color of our skin, we may be discriminated against. So there are many things that are now drawing us back to Liberia, especially in the absence of war for some years now. What is holding many people in the diaspora back are things like education and healthcare. Because if you have a young family, I know we have 6 adult children. We would love for them to come home with us, to come home to Liberia and help to build Liberia. And I think they have spent time in Liberia. I think they would love to be there, but they have to be realistic. Are the schools excellent? Is the healthcare available? Are there opportunities to develop as a professional in your field? We need to create an enabling environment so that our young people that are abroad will not feel like they have to make a huge sacrifice just to come home.
And even those that are there, we should not discriminate here. We need to create, look, the most important thing we also need to realize is Liberia belongs to all of us, regardless. The wealth of Liberia must be given to every Liberian. They need to have the opportunity to exploit that wealth and enjoy that wealth. Okay, we have not done well at doing that. Okay, thus the huge disparities. Don't mention the issue of the diaspora. The diaspora is very, very important to the future of Liberia. Politically, Liberia's diaspora represents Liberia's 16th county politically. Economically, the diaspora represents Liberia's middle class. In Liberia, as we speak right now, physically in Liberia, there's a very tiny sliver of astute or first world-class, wealthy folks, wealthy people, and a huge mass of very poor people. The middle class in Liberia is basically non-existent. Liberia's middle class is outside of Liberia, represented by the diaspora. Okay, so again, it's a matter of looking at Liberia from a holistic perspective. Whether you are in Liberia, outside of Liberia, the fact that you were born in Liberia or you're affiliated with Liberia makes you a Liberian and gives you the right to the fruits of Liberia. Okay, and again, like I said, it's a very interesting thing. Nowadays, you young people, you go in Monrovia and you walk around, and there seems to be a certain sense of awareness among you that we cannot allow this to continue to happen. But I want to caution our young people as we are moving forward. Do not let exogenous factors like influences out of the West, okay, overwhelm you in your desire to make Liberia better. Liberia is yours. The problems of Liberia are our problems. Only we can solve it. No matter the other parties, our partners, development partners may want to help, and they will, but never forget that even in their helping us, they are serving their own interests. we need to put forth the interests of Liberia first and foremost. That's the basic principle of diplomacy and international relations. Diplomacy is establishing relations in which your interests, your national interests, will be served. Okay. And don't forget your culture. One of the things I've noticed about the young people I've talked to, I go and I said, okay, so how you at AMEU, at your LU or whatever, how is school? At school fine. Where are you from, by the way? Oh, I'm from Cape Mount. Okay, so do you speak Vi? No. We can't allow that to happen. We must embrace our culture. We must, because embracing your culture is like embracing yourself. Okay? And when we start to run away and forget about those things that are absolutely essential and important to our national existence, we're setting ourselves up for failure.
There is something very attractive about Liberia. There's something very attractive about Africa. And I think more and more Africans are realizing this, because what happened in the past was we were glorifying the West. We were glorifying and making it seem as if America or Europe was some paradise. But those of us who've had the opportunity now to spend many years, we realize that there's some wonderful things about being from a country like Liberia. It's a certain pace of living, a certain way in which Liberians take the time to enjoy their life that is missing when you live in America. America is like a rat race. Everybody gets up and runs to work all the time. No one has time for a meal together. No one has time to engage. The elderly are abandoned in nursing.
No one has time for family.
No one has time for family. But Liberians know the importance of engaging each other. Let's not lose that. Let's enjoy our culture and our respect for the elderly, our respect for our elders. I am so pleased and honored with the way that you all have treated us, the way you reached out to me, how polite you were. There are many instances where I have had to reprimand young people and say, that is not how you speak with someone that is your elder. You have to revere. And so we do that by being good role models. I also believe that we as older folks need to respect our youth. We need to empower our youth. We need to understand that they bring value. That they have, one thing I know is that you all know a lot more about technology than we do. So we need to respect that. We need your help, because right now this whole forum wouldn't be possible if you didn't know how to create a venue where we could all just come on camera and be talking together all over the world. So again, we praise you, we respect you, we acknowledge your experience in areas that we don't know anything about. At the same time, there are things about life that we hope we can share with you.
And those things exist in Liberia now. One of the things I always, when I talk to my foreign, quote unquote, foreign friends, I always say, in Liberia, we don't have any nursing homes. We don't have any old folks' homes. And the reason why that is because we realize that our parents or our grandparents must be kept close within the family unit, because they bring value, they bring wisdom, they bring their experience, and they also help to take care of the family, okay? That's non-existent in many of these Western countries. Let's hold on to our culture, especially those things that are valuable, that bring value to us. Never, ever forget that people, we have power. Just because it's from Europe or from America doesn't make it right. We need to look within ourselves, national introspection, and see the things that we do that are good, the things that we do that are right. And at the same time, get rid of those that are harmful. We should not be afraid to face those hard decisions. It takes courage, it takes humility, but we can do it.
Sure. Thank you very much. And tonight's discussion is really illuminating. And as a matter of fact, it's intriguing. So, discussing Liberia past, present, and future, basically, there's a component we must observe, and that is the socio-economic component. So my question is, where do you see Liberia on the basis of the socio-economic component, and where are we headed, basically, as it relates to the socio-economic factors?
I think we are on the edge of an abyss, really. And depending on what we do as a people, we are either going to tumble into that abyss, into a state of nothingness or statelessness, or if we decide to regroup and step away from the abyss, we can do great things. One of the things I like to see us do, that's very, very important, is change our approach to governance. Okay? One of the most important factors of effective governance is effective institutions. Okay? But institutions, as we have known them in Liberia, do not work very well because over the generations, they have become what I call revolving doors. And let me explain to you what I mean. A ministry, okay, for example, the Ministry of Finance has a minister and a whole lot of people that's supposed to do all the fiscal management of governance, so to speak. Well, what happens is when a new administration, political administration comes into place, what happens to that institution? The entire institution is emptied out and a whole new crew of people come in, okay, because of this nemesis we call political appointments. So what happens in that particular institutions, what that particular instance is, institutions are weak. They are not effective. Because of the revolving door aspect of it, you have no institutional memory, you have no continuity, you have no consistency. But there are ways to fix that, okay? What if we said we need to move away from political appointments in institutions in Liberia? And I'm talking about across the board institutional governance, every aspect of it. What if we said, okay, political appointment would be limited to the top 2 slots in the institution. For example, like in the Ministry of Finance, the minister, the deputy minister, we allow for political appointment. From assistant minister down must be technocrats. Those technocrats must be searched out, vetted, hired, remunerated, and measured and monitored based on their one thing and one thing alone, their ability to deliver. And it should be regardless of their ethnicity, their gender. It should even be regardless of their political affiliation. When you do that, you over time build strong institutions. And those strong institutions would be the foundation of economic and social progress. You see, when you have institutions that understand policies and know how to implement policies, for example, commerce, pricing, and the central bank in monetary matters, okay, once those institutions are strengthened, we'll be able to develop and implement policies that will be effective and lead to economic and social prosperity.
Worldwide, it has been shown that education is one of the key factors in social economic progress. And there's also a famous quote which simply says, when you educate a woman, you educate a nation. This is because women who are educated will never sit by and allow their children to be uneducated. They will, even women that are not educated make huge sacrifices to make sure that their children receive an education, because they know that that is one of the ways that their children are going to come out of poverty and live a positive life. So in order to break the cycle of poverty within a family, families need to educate their children. Families need to have the opportunity to have their children trained to do work that will be paid, remunerated in a way that will allow them to sustain a higher quality of living. And then from there, we build from one step to the next, and we have a far superior social economic perspective. So education is key. But Nat he's more of the governance person. He's more of an expert in finance and economics. That's not my area. But from what I understand, the institutions need to be in place to make sure that there will be opportunities for these people when they're educated. But definitely education needs to happen so that people have the skills and they have what they need in order to be able to sustain themselves economically and socially. So I
Thank
think
you.
that those are the two key: governance and education.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Elijah, we'll take you.
Okay, thank you very much. I follow, and I actually like the fact that there are certain facts that cannot be uprooted. That is, Liberia have a very rich history. But where are we with a rich history? Anyway, we found out. My question is that looking at the past and present and future antecedents of Liberia, how do we how do you project Liberia progress in the next 10 years? And what have been your role play in improving Liberia, setting the path of the brightness future, considering your role play as a diplomatic and developmental oriented president, sir?
So you're making me go first. That's a hard question. Yeah, no. Honestly, where we have been is in a position of leadership. We mentioned that Liberia is a leader on the continent of Africa because of just by virtue of being independent. By virtue of being independent, we knew that it was our role, and we stepped up and we were an active part in the UN of using diplomacy to fight colonialism and talking about the liberation of every country that was colonized by a European power. So Liberia played that leadership role in the past. Um, Unfortunately, we haven't done things at home that we needed to do, which were to ensure an equitable access to all of the fruits, we said, of the country. There were people who enjoyed the fruits of the country. There were people who were deprived. So what happened? Over a long period of time of one group seeming to emerge always victorious and the other group always seeming to lag behind, there was conflict. It started with a coup d'etat. And then even after the coup d'etat, tribalism reared its head. And so people who were in power gave power to their own ethnic group and did not give power to the rest of the ethnic groups. And so that ignited a civil conflict that was brutal. Liberia has had to live down a terrible legacy of child soldiers. You're too young, some of you, but I remember people looking at us and us feeling the shame that we were a nation that introduced this whole concept of using children as soldiers, arming children and having them go into conflict. And it is a very sad thing to have done. So we're still trying to live down that terrible legacy. We also have this wonderful legacy of having been the first African country to elect a female democratically. So that was an accomplishment. But since having elected Mrs. Sirleaf and having this long period of not having war, we really still find ourselves in an economically fragile situation.
And there is another way to do that. Your question is a very, very interesting and complex one. Okay. And the direct answer from my personal perspective is to literally turn the paradigm upside down. To use the Liberian parlance, the Liberian colloquia, we got to chakla the whole thing and fix it. Okay. One of the nemesis in Liberia is corruption. Okay. And corruption is really a manifestation or a reflection of our culture. You see, corruption is not only systemic or institutional, it's psychological. When you're driving in the streets of Monrovia and you see a 7, a 9, 10, 11-year-old running between the cars on Tubman Boulevard, selling cold water and roasted almond, and trying to find a way how he can cheat the customer with his change, or instead of giving the customer 5 almond, he gave him 4, okay, that sort of thing. That is psychological. There's a 7-year or a 9-year-old who is trying to find his way to beat the system through cheating. Okay, that particular practice has become so embedded in our society that it's cultural. Okay. And the only way to get over that is to literally beat it out of us. When I say not physically, I don't believe in violence, but take and implement policies that will eradicate it. And the way we do it is, if a person cheats, if a person steals, if a person acts with impunity, let the law take its course, regardless.
I want to jump in because it's not just in the government either. When I was at AME University, I produced a student production called Every Day. And I challenged the students to produce a film about corruption. And they did this wonderful story where they showed a family and the mother is selling fish and how she's cheating some of her customers. They showed the young student who's going to the school and how the professor is asking for sexual favors in exchange for a grade. That's corruption. It showed the way in which a keke is carrying a blind man and giving him the wrong change. And so the name of the film was Every Day. And that goes to show you that every day and everywhere, just as Ambassador Barnes has said, it is a systemic problem in our nation. We cannot only just blame the government. And so as Vice President for Academic Support Services, supervising admissions, registration, all of those areas, I found it within my purview to crack down on corrupt practices within the institution.
And then you ask the question, what can we do about it? Or what have you done about it, Barnes? The best way to do this is to lead by example.
Exactly.
Lead by example. Like Dawn has said, Dr. Barnes has said, it's not only within the government. It's not only within institutions. I believe it's more than systemic. It's psychological. People believe you got to cheat to succeed. And that we all know intrinsically that that's not the case. Okay. We have to lead by example. Each and every Liberian national, regardless of where they are, must understand that they are in one way or another a leader. You are a leader when you are an older sibling. You are a leader when you are a mother. You are a leader when you are an employee or an employer. Okay? You must reach and lead by example. Okay? We must be the change that we want to see. Now, those things are easy to say, easier said than done. But when I say we want chocolate system, we want to make sure that we implement policies and rules and a framework that would make sure
and they hurt.
That people
it
lead.
Hurts at first. It hurts to tell a student, because you went about registration in an illegal way, you are not registered. And the money that you gave someone under the table to make sure that your name got on a roster is wasted money because you did not go through the proper channels. Then we need to root out the employee who is the one that is facilitating the corruption, taking someone's money and pretending that you are registering them when they are not officially registered. It's hurtful. But you have to enforce the rule so that you chakla, as Nat said, the whole process, and therefore make people understand that if you do not go about this in the right way, you will not be rewarded.
Is it going to be easy? No. Anybody that tells you that it's going to be easy to overcome this psychology of corruption in Liberia, show me that person and I'll show you a liar.
It's very difficult.
It's going to be difficult. It will take effort and it will take sacrifice. Okay. And it's going to hurt. Okay. If we're going to change Liberia for the better, we must be prepared to make some tough sacrifices. And to make those sacrifices will take courage. We must be courageous as Liberians.
It's like being a good parent.
We try to lead by example.
Yeah, you can't tell your child don't do something and then you do it.
Yeah.
You can't.
We have a foundation. We try to encourage young Liberians to be agents of change. We give away laptops. We give scholarships. We build schools. We try to encourage agriculture production. We must lead by example. Okay. And the other thing that's important, and I hate to sound political on this, is you have a responsibility to select leaders that are humble, and courageous and that are prepared to lead by example. This will not change if we are not prepared to take on the responsibility of being patriotic citizens of Liberia. Okay, it sounds simple, okay, but it must be done. You cannot just sit aside and say, I don't care. You know, in the midst of evil and misdeeds, when good folks like yourselves sit around supinely and do nothing, you are no better than those that are perpetrating the evil and the misdeed. Do not forget that. You have power.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, Mr. and Dr. Bounds. We really appreciate the fact that we can drink from your fountain of knowledge tonight. So going further, we'll take Newell. Newell can ask the question and then the guest will reply to it. Newell, welcome to the exchange.
Okay, thank you again for giving me the opportunity. For me, I believe in advocacy and education, especially when it comes to females. And during Madame's introduction, she spoke about the issue of menstrual health, and she actually wanted to elaborate on it, but didn't go far. And my attention was actually drawn to that. So I want to actually ask you, Madam, what are some of the things you are doing when it comes to this menstrual education? Because within our country, we see it as a taboo, and most of us see it difficult to explain. Although for me, I speak it out, but others won't be able to speak out because of the culture we are from. So you have an organization. What are some of the things you are doing in order for us to eliminate the issue of taboos when it comes to menstrual health? And my next question has to do with the educational side. Because of time, let me just ask my two questions. So the educational aspect, you have your foundation. It's actually helping young people in Liberia. But my question has to do with how, although your organization is helping young people, but how can an individual become a beneficiary of that? Because more people will want to ask such questions, more people will want to apply to your scholarship, more people will want to join your organization, but they do not know the fundamentals. So can you please tell us how can I join your organization or other people who want to join or apply for scholarship, and how can we mitigate the taboos or some of the barriers we have to menstrual education? Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much. So I am a member of an organization it's a female organization. It's what we call a sorority or a sisterhood. We are called Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, and our chapter in Monrovia is the Eta Beta Omega chapter. I think it was 2007, we reactivated because that organization had fallen dormant during the civil crisis, and we were able to reactivate the organization. And that organization has taken a big initiative. One of the initiatives, in addition to doing a lot of things, they have launched a program called Ending Period Poverty. And that initiative is based on the fact that globally it has been found that young girls are equal to boys in terms of their academic achievements until they reach puberty and they menstruate. And once young girls start to menstruate, then they begin to be absent from school and they begin to drop out of school. They become marginalized and their education may end and they will be poor. And so the way that women become poor is actually because they have their period. And so since they have their period and they do not go to school, they are not as well educated as their male counterparts. So the organization has partnered with a local NGO in Liberia. And what that NGO, along with our sorority, does is they go around the country and they do workshops on how to care for your body. And they provide little kits. You give the kit, and the kit includes reusable menstrual products. They show you how to care in terms of hygiene, in terms of using those things, so that girls are not worried about, what am I going to do? How will I go to school when I'm menstruating? I feel safe. I feel protected. I am healthy. And so this project called Ending Period Poverty is about educating young girls and empowering young girls by providing them with this kit. And I can tell you more about it. I can direct you to exactly where you can go to inquire specifically about those kits offline. I can send you links that will give you all of the information. In terms of the Aurora Foundation and our scholarships, what we do is to solicit letters of inquiry. So if there's a student at any level that is interested in our support, typically they're already enrolled, or at least they have the application and the registration materials from the school that they would like to attend. They provide us with the information, and they tell us exactly how much it's going to cost. Our staff usually goes and checks into it and makes sure everything is legitimate. And then if it's approved within our budget, we award scholarships to students. We use our Facebook page, the Aurora Foundation. If you just go on Facebook and say Aurora Foundation, AURORA, Aurora Foundation of Liberia, I can put that information also out to you. You will see some of the work that we do. You can submit your letters of inquiry to us by Facebook or by email, and we provide that information. So once the information is gathered and the staff makes a decision, then the student is contacted and the student is awarded the scholarship. And we try to do that at least once a year. Typically, we solicit letters like that starting in June. So right about now, people should start sending letters so that by September, when the schools start up again, we'll be able to award the scholarships.
And we do award scholarships for the entire spectrum, from kids in elementary school all the way to graduate school, as a matter of fact. We're not saying that we are huge, but we try to help.
Yes.
We try to also help in other ways. We gave laptops to deserving students. We have created computer labs right now in 2 communities in and around Monrovia, one in a place called Topo Village and one in Claratown, where we have provided laptops,
the stabilizers,
and we more or less engage the school to give us a classroom. We refurbish the classroom, provide furniture in the classroom, and create these workstations for the kids. Okay, and hopefully it provides some sort of opportunity where kids in school can have an early exposure to IT, before they get out there without it. We've done 2. We provided support for 2 schools, and we are looking to expand that across Liberia as we more or less have the facilities and in fact the capacity to do that. We support a women's agriculture project also, but it's just a way to help to empower people. And the question you asked is a very important one, because sometimes we need to look at it on a larger scale. Education in Liberia will not be fixed by providing 1 or 2 scholarships. It will not. We need to look at how can we take the system, okay, and make it widely applicable to as many people as possible. And a lot of that has to do with addressing the disparities, okay? We don't pay our teachers enough. We don't train our teachers enough. As a result, in many instances, we have many schools with substandard teachers, okay? And then not because they don't want to teach or they don't try, it's because they just have not had the opportunity to expand their training. And it has to go with a issue of governance. One of the things I always say is, if you take a teacher, an average teacher in Liberia makes on average $150 a month on average, okay? A member of the legislature in Liberia makes 100 times that amount. Now, you all are young, you're smart. Tell me something. You put a teacher here and you put a legislator here. In our current present day Liberia, who brings more value to Liberia? And if you answer the question, then why is there such a large disparity, okay, in these particular areas? But that disparity is across the board. Okay, so we need to address some of these governance or institutional disparities that will address the issue of education and healthcare and infrastructure and all those important things for prosperity.
Okay, thank you very much. And this is the exchange. If you're just joining off from wherever you are, this is the exchange. The exchange. So now we're discussing Liberia, past, present, and future antecedent, and where we are as a country. So now we have the chance to interact with the audience, and we'll read some of the comments and the questions that's in the comment section to our guests. We have tonight discussing with us that Ambassador Nathaniel Barnes and his wife, Dr. Dawn Barnes. So we'll read the questions from the comment section, and you can just respond to them subsequently, Mr. and Mrs. Barnes. So the first question we have here is that the comment reads, "Okay, Mrs. Barnes, thanks for your elaboration. My question to you is, what could be your recommendation to youth of tomorrow in order to get rid of this fragile economy?" I think they were talking about the point of psychological mindset, like you talk about Ambassador Barnes, where people are fragile as it relates to corruption and stuff like that. Basically, being a psychological one, not an institutionalized or a systematic one. So you
But
can just
I think it's a good question, and this is a global matter. I think people who there are certain people that no matter where they are, they will achieve. They will achieve because they are determined. And I think that having that real drive within yourself, that overwhelming desire to accomplish something, to learn something, to do something, to bring yourself up, there is nothing that can replace that amount of drive. So I would like to challenge everyone, no matter your situation. I just read a wonderful presentation by a young woman living in a slum community in Monrovia. She sent me her comments that she was going to make at a presentation and asked me to just edit it for her. And I was reading her comments, absolutely inspiring, because she's saying basically the fact of growing up in a slum community in Monrovia has not stopped me from dreaming about becoming a fashion designer. And I've learned how to make clothing in a way that is inspirational, and I've been marketing my clothing, and now I have my own boutique. And and so here is someone that had nothing but a dream. And so I really think that it comes from within. I think God has gifted each one of us in miraculous ways, but we have to discover what is the gift that has been given to me, and what is my purpose, what is my destiny. And once you have that, do not allow any individual to discourage you. Absolutely. Pursue it with all your heart. Absolutely. Because although we are talking on a broader level about how government can change to help you, if you don't have the drive, if you don't have the ambition, if you don't have the confidence, you will not take advantage of the opportunities, even if they're given to you.
Let me interject here, and I'll go back to the 3 cardinal questions. Every individual Liberian needs to focus on the 3 cardinal questions. Your ability to succeed lies in your lap, lies in your hands. That means that you need to ask yourself the 3 cardinal questions, but at the same time, you need to make certain demands. You need to make certain demands. You need to understand that your happiness, your success depends on you. Depends on you. Okay? And what you do, demanding your government to provide better services. Now, when I say demanding, you don't have to do so in an uncivil way. You do so by exercising your franchise. You do so by asking yourself the question, what is it this particular person as a leader in terms of value will bring for me, for Liberia? Okay, but it's with you. Just because a rat is born in an oven doesn't make it a biscuit. You need, Malcolm X said that a long time ago, but you need to understand that your ability to move forward, in spite of the hurdles, in spite of the troubles, and you must understand something else. Failure is a part of life, and it's okay. It's not okay when you fall and you decide to stay down there. It doesn't work, my friend. Okay. So failure is a part of life. You need to embrace it, learn from it, and move on.
Okay. So another comment. Thank you for responding to the comments or the question that was posted in the comment section. Another one from one Hezekiah Dohanso Tabet Jr. He says that the Bounds or Ambassador Bounds, I enjoyed the presentation, but I totally differ with your analysis about the salary disparity of teachers and legislators. There's a huge tax of a legislator as compared to the teacher. My question to you is, as an ambassador then, what was the difference in salary between your post and the teacher, and what did you do to curb or close the gap? That's the question.
Very, very good question. Excellent question. Well, I will question his issue about the huge task of a legislator as compared to a teacher. Is he insinuating that the task of a legislator is more important or more prominent than that of a teacher? That is arguable. I'm prepared to get into a debate with him on that. I would select a teacher any day over a legislator, given the environment in Liberia today. Okay, so that's one issue. On the other matter of my salary as an ambassador to that of a Liberian teacher, please do keep in mind that our geographic locations were different. Okay. And as a matter of fact, it's because of the disparity in my salary and that Liberian teacher or that poor Liberian slum dweller that my wife and I established the Aurora Foundation. One of the most important mantra in my life is found in a biblical passage, Matthew 25:40. For inasmuch as you have done this unto the least of these, my brethren, you have done it unto me. I am not comfortable being comfortable with my neighbor being miserable. That's my nature. That's my wife's nature.
To those to whom much is given, much is required.
Much is required.
Yeah, we subscribe to that. I would never say that either Nat or myself have been deprived. We have been very blessed. And we are one of very few Liberians to have been able to have the kind of education and opportunities that we have. So it is our moral duty, our responsibility to reach
give
back and to make sure that the next generation, or as many people that did not have those opportunities, are given that opportunity. So, the fact of you being better off is all the more reason why you should then facilitate improving the condition of your fellow human being.
And I challenge anyone to go out there and check our backgrounds, check what we do.
I'm not running for office. They don't need to check my background.
No,
I'm
but
not running.
When you ask, no. Interestingly enough, when folks ask questions like these, there's something under it.
There's a political undertone.
Not only political, there's an undertone that's saying, well, you're privileged, so what do you care? The truth of the matter is, we do care. Okay, and we encourage you, go and check, go and look. Okay, and I can also say, on the matter of corruption, go and check. I was a very important and prominent official of the government of Liberia several administrations ago. Okay, and I walked away with my head up, proud that I was not involved in corrupt practices, because number one, it's wrong. Okay, so that's the nature of how we are. So I hope I answered the question.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much, Ambassador Bounds and Dr. Bounds. So another comment reads from Ambrose War. He says, "What can be done to culturally re-engineer our people in the fight against corruption? What can be done?"
From my perspective, from a governance perspective, okay, there are several things that can be done. Number one, we need to build better institutions. And I suggested to you how we do that earlier. Okay. We need smaller government. The government is too large. Okay. And because it's so large, it's inefficient. Okay. We need to reduce the size of government, empower the private sector, okay, to absorb whatever excess that we cut off or we reduce the government by. Okay. Empower the private sector to absorb those people, provide the appropriate training so that they can be productive. We also need to provide better remuneration to those that we retain. Okay, so the reason why many times people in institutions cheat or steal is because they feel that they are not paid well enough. And in many instances, they are underpaid. So we need to remove that particular incentive for them by paying them better, so that when they do break the rules, we apply the law strictly. Okay. Those are some of the things that we need to do. The laws are there. The laws are on the books, but unfortunately, we do not apply them. We Liberians are great at saying things, but then when it comes to implementation, we have challenges. Okay, so that's what we need to do. Realign ourselves on how we manage, how we govern, reduce the size of the government, empower the private sector, okay, and then apply the law and punish the perpetrators of such things. You cannot change this unless you're prepared to do that, okay? Then we need to begin a process of education where people begin to understand that it is immoral to cheat, okay? It's okay to be honest, okay? It's easy to say these things, like I said, but to change behavior and mentality
I'll
is
give
difficult.
you a concrete example. Students will sometimes say to you, as a teacher, please help me with my grade. Me giving you an A when you have earned a D is not helping you. That is just facilitating your imminent failure.
Absolutely.
When you leave and you have not mastered the information that you supposedly should have mastered, you will not be able to perform. So I need to be honest with you and say to you, you have not mastered, you need to repeat. You need help. That is truthfully helping you, not giving you a grade that you have not earned. But yet our people feel that you are helping. When you give someone a pass, that's not necessarily helpful. You know, what you need to do is to help them to succeed.
When you give somebody a path, you need to empower them to take that path. Okay. And it's important. I see another rather interesting question here from Mr. Tape, telling me about the legislators and the tasks of him.
He already said thank you. No. So get over him.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. So because of time, we'll take Elijah quickly because of time, and then you can conclude on the next edition of the exchange. So Elijah come in, and then Doctor and Ambassador Barnes can conclude after you.
Thank you very much. We've been having a very good discussion tonight. Unfortunately, we will not be accepting via WhatsApp call because of time. Our time is already out. We read few other questions from the comment section. We want to say a big thanks to our viewers there. Our discussion today have been analyzing Liberia past, present, and future antecedents as where we are today. Joining our guests there in the United States, bringing a play-by-play descriptions about Liberia history and where we are going as a nation. So my last question to our guests, and after this question, I think they will be concluding on the entire topic on the discussion. Yeah, uh, with their constant involvement in Liberia politics, histories, and improvement. My question is, what have been your impact recommendations to improving agriculture, which have been one of our major challenges in Liberia? We do believe that if we do not have food to eat, everything is upside down. What have been your impact recommendations to improving agriculture, building women's empowerment, and giving the outlinings of importance of girls' capacity building in Liberia? So this will be our last question to the guys. After this question, then we'll be taking their concluding statements and call this a day.
Well, thank you. I believe, Liberia, as we are today, is basically categorized as a country that relies on the extractive industry. Okay, extractive industry, more or less mining, iron ore, diamond, gold, where we are taking natural resources out of the ground, out of the earth, for revenue purposes.
Hello?
The thing we must understand and realize is that those resources are exhaustible. It will finish. The iron ore is going to finish, the diamond will finish, the gold, at some point in time, they will finish. Okay. So we need to focus on investing in renewable resources. And the two most prominent renewable resources are agriculture and human beings. Okay, so now to focus directly on your question, we do need to focus on expanding agriculture. I think it's unacceptable that the government of Liberia's budget, in the budget, only 2% of the budget, less than 2% of the budget is dedicated to agriculture. That's a renewable resource that we should begin to focus more on. So I recommend to the government that we relook at our allocation for agriculture and make some adjustments there. What we have done personally, I mentioned to you that we have affiliation and we support, our foundation support a pretty significant women's agriculture initiative in Nimba County called LIFACO. Okay. And what they do basically is we try to provide means to add value to their production. They do largely cassava, vegetables, and rice. So we've helped to provide machinery and equipment that would add value to the cassava product. For example, cassava flour, farina, gari, or what have you. So our personal effort is in that area. We also happen to have a farm, okay, where we are attempting to grow cocoa. Okay, we've had some challenges because of all of the issues of the past. Okay, but we have attempted and understand the value of agriculture and how we need to expand it. It's unacceptable that we are unable to produce our staple, our national staple. We eat rice. Liberians eat rice 3 times a day. Yet and still, we don't have the capacity.
Once a day, if they're lucky.
I tell you, we don't have the capacity to produce rice to feed ourselves. That's not acceptable. So, in a nutshell, we need to encourage our government to focus more on the renewable resources, particularly agriculture and human beings. And we ourselves are taking the initiatives by providing support to agriculture cooperatives, focusing on women. There are over 7,000 women in that particular cooperative that we support. Okay, so that's what we are doing, and we are on it, and we feel that it's not enough, but we're doing the best we can. We're doing the best we can.
Okay. So thank you very much, and it's actually been an honor to have two very distinct Liberians, Ambassador Antonio Bounds and his wife, Dr. Dawn Bounds. So before we take your concluding statement, we just want you to add this question to it while concluding, and that is, someone said, why is it that most Liberians engage in the politics as a means of giving back? Why do you think it happens? And you can just conclude on that.
The short answer to that, because people perceive the short answer to that, because most people perceive politics as where the money is. Listen, there is a distinct difference between a politician and a leader. Unfortunately for Liberia, we have left the leadership of Liberia to politicians and not leaders. Distinct difference is a leader has an array of tools available to him or her to address and solve the challenges of statehood. Politics is only one of those tools. So a leader has an array of tools, whether it be fiscal, monetary, public health solutions that are applicable and viable. They are available to a leader. The Liberian politician has one tool and one tool alone. It's called political rhetoric. They believe that words can solve problems. And you young people, as well as I know, we've been around long enough to know that that doesn't work. Okay? We have an issue, we have a challenge with flooding or infrastructure, and we say, well, we get up and say fancy words, and we think it will impress our people that they think the problem has been solved. So what I'm trying to say to you is we need to move away from politicians and begin to select leaders. Okay, so that's the distinct difference in my mind.
Okay, thank you very much, and it was a pleasure having you here tonight to discuss Liberia past, present, and future antecedents, and where are we headed as a nation. So to just conclusively conclude, we'll just take your concluding statement, citing suggestions on things you talk about, and how can we mitigate those major problems that we face as Liberians, and how can we succeed in the foreseeable future.
I think forums like this are that's part of the solution. We have to first face the reality. We have to ask ourselves the hard questions, and we have to use creativity to find solutions to each problem. But I think we can do it because Liberian people are extremely smart. They're extremely bright and they're extremely creative, innovative. So we should use all of those things in order to succeed. And certainly the first issue is to engage, talk to each other, say what is the problem, and then how can we now address it. So I think that is absolutely pivotal, and I applaud you young people for organizing this exchange. I hope it has been productive for you to talk with us, and I hope that we've shared some of our insights about how to tackle these issues. And I look forward to seeing a much brighter day in Liberia. I think Liberia is turning a corner. I think Liberia is turning a very important corner with the youth now taking the helm and saying, we want a better life. Remember the cardinal questions. What do you want? That's the first question. What do you have to do to get what you want? Are you willing and able to
willing and prepared?
Are you willing and prepared to do what you must do to get what you want? If you do not know what you want, you will never get it, my friend. Once you know you want a better country, you want more opportunities, that's the first thing. Then you begin to outline the things that you must do. And then finally say, am I prepared? If I'm not prepared, how do I become prepared? And you will certainly succeed if you do those things. So congratulations on a good program. I wish you all the very best in the future. The future is yours.
Yeah. I have to echo Dawn. I have not much to say. Everything she said, I agree with, I would have said. I want to focus on the 3 cardinal questions and agree with her that we in Liberia are approaching a renaissance. You young people are in charge or are the driver of the Liberian Renaissance. Don't ever forget, regardless of who you are, what your social standing is, you have power. Use your power wisely. God bless you. God bless Liberia.
Thank you very much. And that was the voices of Ambassador Nathaniel Bounds and his wife, Dr. Dawn Bounds. And we've been discussing Liberia past, present, and future, antecedent, and where we are as a nation. It has been fascinating. It has been illuminating. It has been educative. So until then, we see you on another edition of the exchange. My name is Moses T. Telawaya, and I have with me as panelists Elijah Dennis and Nuo David. Prince do have some technical problem. That's why he couldn't end the show. But it's been a pleasure and very, very much educated. Thank you all. Until then, we see you on Saturday for another edition of the program, The Exchange. Bye-bye. And as always, keep on the well.
Very hard, I'm moment tenga como mi nya praga to ekpa. Hey. Hello. 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 Hello.
Chopra ya limie ye pa ku kwebo. Chopra ya limie ye pa ku kwebo. Tabla kapae kapa ku taito. Tabla kapae kapa ku taito. Hello, 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 hello.
Nya praga moment tenga como mi nya praga to ekpa. Hey. Hello, 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 hello.